have got quite the project ahead of me. We had bought this house not too long ago, and the previous homeowners had painted the countertops. I'm honestly not sure why just yet, but I can tell that the paint is coming up. So it's coming up relatively easy when I push on it with a ladle. So my hopes are that I can get this paint removed. I'm hoping the counters underneath are in good condition and I'll be able to continue to keep this countertop until we're ready to fully redo the kitchen. So my first thought, I was just pretty excited, was just to get scraping a little bit just to see how easily it would all come up. And like I mentioned, I was a little unsure of why they painted them. Maybe there was a lot of scratch marks or burn marks on the countertop, and they were trying to do a quick update on them before they listed the house for sale. So I'm a little bit nervous that once I get the paint up and do all of that work, that there'll be something hiding under there that I'm just not sure about, and we'll have to cover that again anyways. But either way, I decided to look up online what's a quick way to kind of start thinning out that paint with some household items. And the first thing I came across was vinegar. So what I did was saturate a piece of paper towel and lay that on the countertop. And it did work, but it wasn't going to be good enough for this kind of large project. So after more research, I decided to go with that 2-minute advanced paint remover. From the reviews I had read online, it worked really well. The only complaints so far were that it had a really strong smell, but that it was a really good product. So I had compared that review and some other reviews on the citrus strip, and the citrus strip, the videos I had seen on that, it worked fairly well, but everybody was still sanding down their projects afterwards. And with this countertop, even though it was a wood counter, I didn't plan to sand down what was underneath. I was hoping that what I had was still in good condition. So we went with the 2-minute advanced paint remover, and I'm so glad I did. I was kind of learning though as I went along that you cannot apply this in a really thin application. It does have to be rather thick for it to work. The first few times I tried, it was on really thin and I was scraping for a really long time. I was learning as I went, and you can see things definitely picked up. Here, my progress. My first goal was to just get the flat part of the countertop done first. Here you can see there are some scratch marks underneath, nothing terrible though so far, so things are looking good in my mind. It looks like these are going to be able to hold up until we're ready to remodel the kitchen. I'm unsure right now about the backsplash and the front piece of trim in front of the counter. If that has a good finish underneath, I'm going to have to kind of scrape a smaller section and test that out. But the fumes are somewhat strong, so I am only working at night when it's cooler outside, and I did open up some windows so that I had a cross breeze coming through. Some people were saying that it was kind of just relative to a really strong nail polish remover smell, and I would agree. It's nothing terrible, but you definitely want to have windows open so you have some fresh air and some proper ventilation for this. But getting started on day 2, you can see that I kind of understood how the product worked a little bit better. I was putting on thicker coats, and you can see I'm kind of washing as I went along. There was a layer of like black paint underneath the countertop paint that they had applied. So thankfully it was just washing right off. So my process was to apply the 2-minute paint or 2-minute advanced paint remover, and then once I let that sit for about 5 to 10 minutes, I would go in, scrape that off, and then wash off any black paint that was still kind of coming through underneath. And that was going really smoothly. It still is a lot of work. I'm not going to say that you can just push the paint right off. You do have to get some elbow grease into that and really work the product down, but it is definitely getting through it and doing a great job. What I also noticed is that you can see I'm not applying it just in a thin layer anymore with the paintbrush or even using the paintbrush to do a thicker layer. What I did was once I kind of poured the strip of the paint remover that I wanted, I would use my scraper and kind of just pull the product to the right or just drag it off to the side. So it was a thick but wider application, which allowed me to work a little bit faster. It did take me about 3 containers of the advanced paint remover to complete this whole project, but that was totally worth it in my mind. It was only about close to $11 for the 2-minute advanced paint remover at Walmart. So again, this was a affordable fix in my mind. And thankfully, you can see I tested a piece at the backsplash. It matched the counter underneath. That as well looks like it was in relatively good condition. So I am in good shape here. I was quite happy about that. It is the end of the night. It's almost about 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm doing my final cleanup. As you can see, my pro tip for this is use a magic eraser. I feel like if you watch any of my videos, you probably think I have a cabinet full of magic erasers. I use it on a lot of things, but I could not believe how much residue was left after I had washed down the counters. I went back in with the magic eraser, and I could see how dirty that still was. The only downfall to the project so far is that you can see the trim on the front of the counter. That was just wood underneath, so I could not strip the paint that they had applied. I am going to have to leave that there, but that's okay. It still is in much better shape, the counter itself. When I'm obviously preparing food, I don't have to worry about the paint that was on the counter, and it feels just cleaner and fresher. So here you can see this is my final cleanup for the night. The 2-minute paint remover comes up very easily. The cleanup was not difficult at all. The fumes at this point from it, again, kind of just lingering like almost a strong nail polish remover, nothing too terribly bad. By the next morning, though, I was so excited to show my husband. He was very impressed that I was able to finally wrap this up as quickly as we did, and he was glad as well to see all of that peeling paint was finally gone.
So a couple of things that I do want to mention about the 2-minute advanced paint remover is that it's not 2 minutes. Maybe if it was a thinner layer or not on wood, maybe a different type of surface where it would come up a little bit easier. But this was a fantastic product after the 2-minute mark. So I would say a more accurate timing for me was about 5 to 10 minutes. And that's when it really, you could see the remover kind of bubbling up, getting into the deeper layers of the paint, and I was able to come through with my scraper and lift the paint. So it was a fantastic product, extremely easy cleanup. It wasn't goopy and globby. The paint kind of almost balled together, and I could just simply use some paper towel, pick it up, and get that thrown away. So I could easily go back through. I did use a magic eraser to get up any leftover residue, and then wash the counters down with hot soapy water. So I could not be happier with how it turned out. I'm so glad that the countertops underneath the paint were in very good condition. And I totally understand why people do paint. It is a affordable change, a quick change, but the shelf life on that type of DIY project in a home like ours where we're constantly washing the countertops, it's just not practical. The paint was coming up so badly, and the best solution was to remove it. So if you are thinking about redoing your countertops, I would look at maybe doing like a peel and stick paper. I know that's kind of trending right now, and that is going to be so much simpler to remove when you're ready to actually put in new countertops. This was hours and hours worth of labor, and I would hate to see anybody else go through that once it starts to fall apart, and or you just change your mind that that's not the look that you were going for. So all in all, very good project. Highly recommend the 2-minute advanced paint remover, and I really appreciate you guys watching this project as I got through it. It's such a good feeling to have it done. But thanks again for watching. I hope you guys have a great afternoon. Please remember to like and subscribe. We do have quite a few more projects that we're covering, and we'll see you in the next one.